All right, welcome everyone into our week 8 podcast that we have this week. We will be going over our TD poll. We'll be going over that's the first thing we'll be going over in the podcast this week, and then the next thing we'll be going over are all the great games that we are going to be able to see this week. We got a lot of great football games that we'll be going over. So, without further ado, let's get the TD poll set up here. So before we get into the TD poll, welcome to TD SportsPress. My name is Trayson Dayton. This is our Tuesday podcast. Like I said, we go live Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. This is our Tuesday. On Tuesday, we do the TD poll and then our big game preview, and then we also do an upset meter on Thursday. But we also finish up the games, so that I won't get to all the games today on Tuesday. We'll get to some of the games on Thursday. So we will get to those as we go. So, but anyways, here's our TD Sports Press Week 8 rankings. So at number 1, we still have Miami. I think Miami should be number 1 as of right now if you base off resume. If you do it off power poll, I'd put Ohio State number 1 is what I would say. Moving on, we have Ohio State number 2. I think 1 and 2 are really I think those two are pretty self-explanatory. They're probably right where they need to be, I would say. So, right where they need to be. So, the next thing that we the next thing that we have is we have Indiana at number 3. We have Indiana number 3, big win at Ohio State. I think that's right where they needed to be. Indiana over Oregon. Sorry, I messed it up. But we have Indiana over Oregon, so that's kind of where I see that one going. At number 4, we have Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is at a good spot right now in the SEC. Big win over a solid team against a Florida team that they played really good against Texas, so you have to keep that in mind. So a very good win for Texas A&M. We have them at number 4. At number 5, we have Texas Tech. We're a little bit higher on Texas Tech, I would say, than most other people have them, but we have Texas Tech at number 5 because they're undefeated. Number 6, we dropped Ole Miss to number 6. They beat Washington State last week. It just wasn't the ratio that I thought it was going to be, a 34-31 game. For comparison, Washington beat Washington State like 54-21. So that's why we have them at 6. And number 7, our one-loss team leader is Alabama. I think Alabama should be at number 7. That's a great spot for Alabama. Going on the road and beating Missouri. 3 straight AP poll wins in the last 3 weeks. That's amazing for Alabama. And yeah, they got a huge game at Tennessee. We'll be talking about that game on Thursday. At number 8, we got Oregon. They dropped to number 8 based off resume. At number 9, we have Georgia. Georgia has a huge game against Ole Miss. Another chance to move up in the poll there. At number 10, we have Tennessee, and they almost got beat by Arkansas. That was not what I was hoping for. At number 11, we have Oklahoma. A lot of people thought that Oklahoma should drop a little bit lower. I think Oklahoma's at a good spot in our poll for the sole reason that they did lose to Texas, but they still have better wins than LSU. At number 12, we have LSU. They got the win against South Carolina. That's all that matters. I'm excited to see what they do at Vandy. That's going to be a very good game. At number 13, we got Georgia Tech. They go to Duke. We'll be talking about that game a little bit later. Kind of shocked by that line. We'll be talking about that game. At number 14, we got Missouri. Missouri, they dropped a couple spots after getting beat by Alabama. They should have won that game. We talked about that on Sunday if you want to check out our recap episode. At number 15, we got Vandy, a huge game. They're home to LSU, so I'm excited to see what happens with that game. At number 16, we have BYU. Needless to say, we have Holy War this week, so that's going to be a very crucial game. At number 17, we have Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a big game this week, a good opportunity to beat a ranked opponent. At number 18, we got Virginia. Virginia, they're probably going to be playing the ACC Championship. I love what their schedule is down the line and the way they've been looking. At number 19, we got USF, and Miami at 20. We got 2 AAC teams right there. I think they deserve to be ranked right there. Both those teams are really good, and one of them is going to make the college football playoff. They play each other in a couple weeks, so I'm excited about that. At number 21, we have Utah. Like I said, we're going to have BYU, Utah. We'll be talking about that game on Thursday. I need a couple more days to decide who I'm going to pick, because I don't know who I'm going to pick. I'll be honest with you. Right now, I have no clue who to pick in that game. At number 22, 2, we have USC with a huge win against Michigan, 31-13. At 23, we have Nebraska. I saw the AP poll, they had Cincinnati over Nebraska. We don't have that here. We have Nebraska at 23, Cincinnati 24. And then lastly, Washington. Surprisingly, Washington isn't even in the top 25. I don't know why. They're 5-1 right now. They beat Washington State 54-20 or 55-24, something of that nature, and Ole Miss barely beat them. I don't know what. And their only loss is to number 2 Ohio State. They're 5-1. If you put this record on a SEC team, they're probably ranked in the top 10. I'm not even kidding you. So very puzzled by that, but we have Washington ranked in our rankings. So this is our TD SportsPress poll. Like I said, if you follow us on TikTok, you see this every single day. We go over this every day. So, but yeah, this is what our top 25 poll is, and it's not sponsored by anyone. TD SportsPress Week 8 poll. Let us know what we did right or wrong in the comment section. Let us know what you're thinking about that. But with that being said, that leads us into our next segment. So that's kind of our poll that we've been going, and I think we're gonna start off here with our game preview. Our first game we'll be going over is number 10 LSU going to number 17 Vanderbilt. This is going to be a very interesting game. Vanderbilt, they're favored in this game. They open up at 2.5. They are still at 2.5. We look at the ESPN analytics. They give Vandy a 60% chance to win this game. We look at both teams coming into this. LSU, their only loss is to Ole Miss. They beat South Carolina 20-10. We have Vanderbilt here as well. Their loss is to Alabama, and then they had a bye week. So Vandy is coming off a bye week. When we look at this game, it's going to come down to, can LSU score more than 20 points? I think this is what this game is going to. I think whatever team runs the ball efficiently is going to win this game. You look at both the rushing yards. The LSU's top rusher has 283 yards on 67 carries. That is unacceptable at a school like a Louisiana State. Like, you would think that LSU, they just bring in athlete after athlete. I can't believe that's what they have. And Vandy, they don't have their best runner is obviously Pavia. Both quarterbacks have thrown for about 1,400 yards. Completion percentage is about the same. Pavia's thrown for 14 touchdowns, where Nussmeier's at 9 touchdowns. Whoever wins a turnover battle, you can say that about every game, is going to win this game. How do I see this game going down? I'm going to take the home team here. I'm not going to oversimplify it. I think Vanderbilt's a really good team. I don't know why a lot of people weren't talking about them earlier. And I just trust their offense more than LSU right now. LSU has a good defense, but their offense hasn't been able to score more than 20 points. So what I'm telling you is I think that Vandy is probably going to put up more than 25 points in this game. I really like their offense. I think Pavia's had a bye week. They can look at their flaws they had against Alabama. They were able to see what South Carolina did to LSU as well. So I'm very interested in that part of that matchup. But I'm going to go with Vanderbilt to win this game. I just trust Vanderbilt's offense, and that's why I'm going to pick them. I'm going to trust the offense, and I'm going to get burned by LSU now. I gave LSU the benefit of the doubt for so many weeks. And they just have not looked apart. Their running game is just not what it's supposed to be. But if LSU decides to run the football, it could be a long day for Vanderbilt. I just don't know why LSU doesn't run it. I think that's a valid question to ask right now. So very interested to see what happens with that. So that's our first game of the night. Give me Vanderbilt to win this game at home. I think it's going to be an awesome game. Our next game, I kind of alluded to this game when we were talking about our TD poll. We have number 12, Georgia Tech, and Duke, that is 4-2. And you look at this game, and you might be puzzled by the line. Duke opened up at 2.5. It was at 2.5. Now it is at 1.5 on ESPN. The ESPN analytics give Duke a 62% chance to win this game. And like I said, this is a Georgia Tech team that is undefeated right now. Duke has 2 losses right now. You look at Duke, they have a quarterback that's thrown for almost 2,000 yards already. 143 of 205, 15 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. That's an awesome stat for a quarterback right there. Running backs run for about 500 yards, and then you got Haynes King. I mean, where do you want to start with Haynes King? He's 94 of 132, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 971 yards passing, and he's also ran for about 500 yards as well. Like Haynes King is he's like Tim Tebow for Georgia Tech. That's what I would compare that to. You look at both teams coming into this. Georgia Tech beat Virginia Tech 35-20. And Duke had a bye week and beat Cal 45-21. Their last couple of games, they've been absolute blowouts. Duke was a team that we thought would be on the top half of the ACC, and I'm very interested by this game. This is a 10 a.m. kickoff on ESPN. How do I see this game going? I'm going to take Georgia Tech to win this game. I'm going to trust Haynes King, and I am going to make Duke prove me wrong. I picked Duke to beat Illinois the second week of the year, and I couldn't have been more wrong with how many turnovers they have. Maybe they have their turnover situation figured out. I don't know. I'm going to trust Georgia Tech and Haynes King. You got to stop Haynes King. Wake Forest just about did that a couple weeks. But I think Georgia Tech, they'll be ready to go this game. They have a great head coach. They'll have them ready to go for this game. But this is a trap game for Georgia Tech. Everyone's been saying how good Georgia Tech is. And now they got to play a Duke team that's, I would say, average right now. Probably not as good as where they should be. So I think Georgia Tech is going to win this game. But this game is going to be close. This is going to be closer than what people think. And when they see this guy final score, they'll be like, Duke did that to Georgia Tech? So that's what I think so far. Moving on, we got our number 14 in the AP poll, Oklahoma going to South Carolina, and South Carolina's at 3-3. They're in this SEC. You look at it from top to bottom, it is so hard to pick who's going to be good or who's going to win the SEC. There's so many teams that are desperate. For example, you have a Florida team that hit 2 losses and they beat Texas. Last week was Texas. They were desperate for a win. They got one against Oklahoma. And Oklahoma, they're 5-1. They got John Mateer back. He threw for 3 interceptions against Texas. And then you got a South Carolina team that just hasn't been able to do what they were supposed to. This line opened at 4.5. It's already blossomed up to 5.5 for Oklahoma. We look at ESPN Analytics, give Oklahoma a 55% chance to win this game. We look at the key players in this game. There's some very key players in this game as we look at him here. We got John Mateer. He's 115 for 179, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He threw 3 last game. And then we got Sellers that just threw for 1,000 yards over the year, so good for him. Both running backs have about 300 yards. So this game's going to come down to who can get the run game going. Oklahoma against Power 4 teams is averaging over 4 yards a carry right now. So, man, you look at this game for South Carolina, this feels like a must-win, especially for the coach. South Carolina had that good year last year, and this is a hard game to predict. I'm going to go South Carolina to beat Oklahoma here. I'm going to take the home team in this one as well. I'm going to pick the upset here. It feels like in the SEC right now, when there's a more desperate team for a win, they win. And Oklahoma faced that team, Texas. Now they play another team in South Carolina. And I just think that South Carolina, they're due. They're due. They played with LSU last week. They were really in that game. So you look at this, I'm going to go with South Carolina to win this at home. I want Oklahoma to prove me wrong. I want them to prove me wrong. I think John Mateer's a great quarterback. I want them to prove me wrong. I want Oklahoma to have a game where they average more than 3.5 yards a carry against a Power 4 team. That is the whole key to the game right now. And I'm going to trust South Carolina up front. So I think that South Carolina wins this game. And like I said, it just feels like in the SEC, whenever a team needs to get a win, they get a win. And this feels like one of those spots for South Carolina. Moving on. Yep, let's go ahead and move on here. Like I said, that's going to be a very fun game. Moving on. Yep, we had to talk about this game today. Another SEC game. We talk more than just SEC teams, I promise you guys. But we're going to talk about this game here. I'm very interested by this one. We have number 5, Ole Miss, going to number 9, Georgia. ESPN Analytics here. College Game Day is going out right here. So this is a 1:30 kickoff on ABC. Georgia opened up at a 6.5 point favorite. They've run up to an 8.5 point favorite. So that's something that I find very interesting already. The ESPN Analytics give Georgia a 70% chance to win this game. You look at both quarterbacks here. I don't know who's going to start for Ole Miss. I think they came out. Maybe it's their backup they've been playing, he's thrown for about the same amount of yards as Gunnar Stockton. Both running backs are the same. Ole Miss has been putting up more yards than the Georgia in the rush game, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Both defenses have been, I guess Ole Miss wasn't good, but they were good the week before that. Obviously, Washington's coming, or Ole Miss is coming off a 24-21 win to Washington State, and Georgia beat Auburn in the 2010 in that ref show we talked about last week. So, how do I see this game going now? Georgia isn't going to lose this game. This feels like a great, I like Kirby Smart at home against Ole Miss has owned them. But I like last year, Ole Miss beat Georgia. But this game is at Georgia. Georgia's not going to lose two. I just have a hard time believing Georgia's going to lose two games at home. This isn't one of Kirby Smart's best teams he's coached, but I think you can tell by the way he interacts on the sidelines, this is probably one of the most fun teams he has coached, if that makes sense. So I'm going to trust Georgia here and Kirby Smart to get a win, and they need one to get in the playoffs. I think this is a playoff team, and I feel like they're more desperate for a win than Ole Miss right now, and you might see a theme with this as we go on. They just seem more desperate for a win right now, and they should be right now. They have a great opportunity to beat Ole Miss, but Ole Miss, I just have not been impressed with the way that Washington State game. Like if that Washington State game doesn't happen, I'd probably pick Ole Miss on the road. But there's just so many flaws that came about that game there. So I'm going to trust Kirby Smart to get the job done here. I think that this is going to be a fun game, and a game will come back on Sunday. So I'm going to take Georgia to win this game. So I think that's going to be a very fun game in the SEC. But I just can't trust Lane Kiffin right now. I just cannot trust Ole Miss. Not liking what I've been seeing lately. So that leads us into our next game. And we had to talk about this one. One of the most historic rivalry games. Finally, both teams are undefeated. Like, thank you. Both teams are undefeated. Or excuse me, not undefeated. Both teams are ranked. That's what I meant. Both teams are ranked. We have USC that's at 5-1 with that big win against Michigan. Notre Dame's at 4-2. They've gone have a 4-game winning streak after losing those first two games to Texas A&M and Miami, and both those teams are in my top 4 of the TD poll. I think of the AP poll too. But we look at this game. Notre Dame opened up at a 7.5-point favorite. They are now an 8.5-point favorite to win this game. ESPN analytics give Notre Dame a 69% chance to win this game. You look at some stats here. Most of their stats are about the same. Mayaava's 123 of 171, 13 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. CJ Carr 105. For 158, 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Both running backs have ran for about 600 yards here. So I've been going back and forth with this game. This could be USC's standout game right here. This could be the game we go back and look at college football and say, yep, that's where USC turned the page. That's where they showed they were a college football playoff team. Or this could be Notre Dame having their signature win. That we thought that after they played Texas A&M, they might not play another team that's ranked the whole year. They have an opportunity against a USC team to show that they'll belong in the playoffs if they go 10-2. This is a great spot for Notre Dame. So give me Notre Dame to win at home. I'm going to trust TJ Carr, Jeremiah Love, and you look at USC. My bad. We look at USC. They just haven't performed on the road. They are really good at home this year. But this could be a win for them. But I'm going to take Notre Dame. I'm going to trust Notre Dame to win this at home for South Bend and just catapult them in the college football playoff. Like, this might be their best win that they have at the end of the year. And I think USC is a good football team. But if USC wins this game, the narrative about USC changes drastically with Lincoln Riley, especially if they can pull beating Michigan and USC in back-to-back weeks. That would do absolutely numbers for the Notre Dame program. So I wouldn't be surprised if USC wins this game. I'm going to trust Notre Dame in the spot that they're in. I think the key stat in this game is probably going to be who can run the football for more yards. I think whoever runs for more yards will win this game. I think Notre Dame and their 2-back system that they've been going with right now, a little bit of 3-back, but I think Notre Dame wins this game at home against a really good USC team. So I think Notre Dame wins this game. I'm going to pick them to win here. So, but if USC wins, I wouldn't be shocked at all because this could be their statement win as well. So Man, we're plugging right along through this episode here today. We got 2 more games for you before we get out of here tonight. So let's move on to our next game that we have. We have number 16 Missouri and versus Auburn, and both teams I would say are probably kind of kicking themselves right now. They're both teams that probably um, could be right in the mix right now, honestly. So let's pull this game up here. Excuse me. Oh, we're having some Wi-Fi troubles. That's okay. Let's get these games pulled up here. Missouri is a 1.5 point favorite to win this against Auburn. Auburn is at home. Auburn has a case that they could be 5-1 right now. 2 blown calls have really hurt them, but hey, that's the game right there. So Missouri opened as a favorite in this game at a 1.5 point favorite, and now Auburn's a 2.5 point favorite. So, man, this game is going to be close. Missouri has a 53% chance to win this game. Let's look at some key stats. Oh, we're having some look at some key stats in this game that might decide it here. Bose has thrown for 1,400 yards, 126 of 173 with 11 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Jackson Arnold's 106 of 165 for 5 touchdowns. Hasn't thrown a pick so far. Hardy, he only had 11 carries against Alabama. I don't know why. He has 782 yards. And Cobb for Auburn is 453. So how do I see this game going down? This is probably the hardest game this week to decide. And we're going to have some games on Thursday that are hard. I don't have a read on this game, but I'm going to stick with my method I've been talking about the entire day today. Give me Auburn to win this game against Missouri because they're the more desperate team for a win. It feels like Hugh Freeze and Jackson Arnold are on desperation mode. They are on their gas pedal, on their gas right now. They're on E right now. And they need to get 2 more miles to a gas station to recharge or refuel. And this feels like the game right here. Don't get me wrong. I think Missouri's a great football program. They probably should have beat Alabama. The reason why I'm picking Auburn is I look at Missouri and they had their best player have 12 carries the entire game. Their best player had 12 carries the entire game. That is inexcusable. Give me Auburn to win this game at home, at the Grove, as they would like to call it. This game is going to be awesome. Like I said, this is kind of feels like the Oklahoma game as well. You just got to pick the more desperate team. The top down from the SEC is incredible. It is so hard to predict. So I think Auburn wins this game. I think these two teams are close. I think Missouri's a good team. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I just think Auburn could be 5-1 in this game as well if a couple balls go their way. So I'm going to take Auburn to win this game. I think this game is going to be a good game. I'm just going to take the whole team here and pick the team that's more desperate. And I think that's what we're going to do. And we're going to take Auburn to win this game. So I think that game should be fun. But one last game here before we get out of the road here. Make sure you guys come back on Thursday. We'll finish up all the game picks that we have. And our upset alert meter will be coming out. Our upset alert meter. So we'll be talking about that. And this game, we have Texas Tech, a 9.5 point favorite. I think they got number 5 in the TD poll, going and playing Arizona State. And this is a game that we had scheduled since July this is a game I was most looking forward to in the Big 12. And I would say some circumstances have changed. Texas Tech is as good as advertised. They're as good as I thought they were going to be in July. Arizona State's struggling. Some injury news as you look at this. Sam Leviett, we don't know if he's going to play or not. The Texas Tech quarterback, he's hurt as well, so we might be having backup on backup. So that is very interesting. So we might be seeing Sims again, and the Texas Tech quarterback that led that great win against Utah. So we look at this game. It's going to come down to probably which backup quarterback is better, because I think it's going to be both backup quarterbacks unless things change. So I'm going to take Texas Tech to win this game on the road. Texas Tech's offensive front, defensive front, they're good enough to win a national championship. But it's going to come down to, are there skill position players good enough to win a national championship? They're up front. I mean, they were more physical than Utah. When's the last time you've been able to say that about a team? I don't remember the last team in recent memory that was more physical than Utah. and they were more physical than Utah on the offensive line and the defensive line. That doesn't happen very often. So I'm going to take Texas Tech to win this game. I'm going to trust their front and their D-line, and that's kind of why I'm picking this game. Arizona State, they got boat raced last week against Utah, 42-10. So I'm expecting a much better response in this game against Texas Tech. But I still think Texas Tech is going to go on the road and win this game. I feel really good about this pick with Texas Tech winning. So I'm going to pick Texas Tech to win this game. I don't know about 9.5 points. That's a lot of points. I think this game will probably be closer. But, yeah, that's our full show. Thanks for everyone that was been here on the live. Check out our TikTok and check out our Spotify. If you're looking for a long-form, Spotify podcast that gets you to work, we got, this is a 25-minute episode here. So check that out. Appreciate all of you guys. We're at 12 subscribers on YouTube. We're trying to get to 20 by Sunday. So if you guys can help us reach that, that'd be awesome. We just need 8 more. So with that being said, we'll see you guys Thursday night.